Okay, Titans, we're going to Illustrator, back to our Design Triptych. So, the first step for this third piece is to go back over here and basically drag a box using the selection tool over the entire group that you have there. Hold down the Alt button and bring it over to group 3. And that's it, you're done. Just kidding. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to make this one a little bit different on purpose, and I'm going to transform, without holding my shift key, this whole group so that they're reversed, just because I want to. Do you have to do this? No. You could skip that step if you wish, but now I have the whole group reversed, so everything's going to be different from my first one, first of all, already, which is something that I want. The first thing I wanted to tell you about is going to be the most fun, but I want to make it so I have some room first. So I don't want to deal with everything at once, so I'm going to start moving some of the foreground images off. In fact, I'm going to move them all off, because the first thing I want to do is add a little bit more background to the piece. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to add some shapes with my shape tools. If I go over here, no matter what shape yours starts with, you'll see all these shapes. I'd recommend staying away from the flare tool because it's not really the style that we're going to go. In fact, I'm going to show you some examples of vector art now that'll show you the style that we're going for, because we're going to make this one a t-shirt design. You can see them in some vector art images, and by the way, what you've made so far is vector art, because all these paths that you created to create these shapes are all vectors. And what that means is we can make them any size we want, and they're not going to lose quality like it would in Photoshop if you enlarged an image. So, but vector art common themes are things like they're very colorful usually. There's usually some regular shapes. There's almost always spirals or dripping paint. And those are the stylistic things that I'm going to show you how to create in your projects here. So as I said, we're first going to start with these, and I'm just going to draw some stars using the star tool just to have a background shape. Now you're like, what, Mr. Cier? That's not a star. Okay, so you might be wondering why that has so many points in it, why it's not really a star. A couple of the tools, specifically the polygon tool or the star tool, if you double click them on the page where you want to put it about, you could change the number of points that it has. For example, here's a 5-pointed star. So I just wanted to let you know that this could be 20 points, or it could be 5, or it could be any number in between if you'd like to mess with that to get some new shapes or new polygons if you use the polygon tool. So now that we have our star, you know that you could use this shape just like any of your other drawings. So if you want to like add colors to it, you could. Another really kind of cool fun thing to do is to give it a color here that's like one color, like let's say light blue, and then you could change this to a darker color and then make this the point of it really high. Okay, so that's kind of neat looking. Alright, so once I have a cool looking star, and now I might want to use some of the other things that we learned we could change up here when we were doing this part of the project, but you could also, when you're happy with what it looks like, you could click it, and I'm going to make a few of them in a couple places, and I'm going to vary their tilt a little bit and maybe their size a little bit so that none of them are exactly the same. Alright, the next thing that I'm going to do is teach you a brand new tool. So I said that they have some basic shapes sometimes in the background, a lot in vector art. They also have what's under here, which is called spirals. So I might make a little tail on one of my stars here, and that looks terrible because I still have this set to 40 points. Let's make it 20. Let's add a little texture to it. Now remember that this folder is here for a reason, because there's cooler stuff in here. I don't want to show you all that cooler stuff because I want you to go find it. And I'm going to take this and turn my spiral. Let's see, there you go. Put it on the end of one of the points to my stars. Okay, so that looks kind of cool. It's like the stars like kind of whipping that spiral around. Alright, so using spirals is another way to make your t-shirt look stylish. But these are really just the background shapes. I'm going to grab all of this stuff, all of it right here, and object, arrange, bring it to the front so it's ahead of all these stars. Then I'm going to start bringing in my pieces. Now I don't just want to bring them in as they are. I want to do something to them to make them different than page one. I'm going to go into my twirl tool, which is under this little mustache looking guy right here called the width tool. Underneath that, there's a whole bunch of cool warping tools that you can play around with. I'm going to show you the twirl tool because it's my favorite. What I want to mention is, though, you got to be careful. These are all these tools. Like, let me show you what could happen. If you play with them too much, you're going to destroy your shape, which makes it like you can't tell what it is anymore, which is kind of against the purpose of the project. We're still trying to create something about video games. It's going to be a t-shirt about video games. So sometimes a little bit of fun can go a long way. Let me Command Z that. I feel like that was poorly placed. Let's try it over here. There you go. That's kind of fun. And maybe over here on this controller. So I'm just holding down the button a little bit longer and it makes these awesome spirals. So fun things to play with in here. I'm going to take another controller here, and on this one I'm going to use this eraser tool. Now the eraser tool works more like scissors in this program. So what you should be careful not to do is destroy, again, make it so you can't tell what it is by destroying it with these scissors. So with what I just showed you was it with a really small eraser. If you want to change, you could double click your eraser and this will come up. Double click it on the bar there. And you can change these numbers. This is the one that I'm working with, which is the diameter. So this is what I really meant to show you what not to do. If you keep going through and erasing and it's going to look like this, that doesn't look like a controller anymore. So that's not good. So you have to balance it out. I just Command Z, by the way. Or you could say, you know what, well, I just want to I want everyone to know this is a controller, so I might add some more details using the eraser. The eraser really acts more like scissors, because what I just did was I erased holes, or just like cutting holes into this. All right, so you could see that you could see through that into the next piece. So that's what the eraser tool does in this program. It doesn't just erase the whole thing like you might think, or erase part of a mistake. It's going to change your path if you erase the path. So not saying that you can't though. Maybe you could use your, I'm going to select, go back to this another controller over here. So one way that you could use the eraser tool is to add details. Another way is you could just stylize whatever the thing is that you're erasing from. So now it looks like this thing has stripes in it. That's kind of cool. Maybe I would have wanted to use a smaller eraser from this. All right, but I think I gave you enough idea of how that works. Again, just don't shred the heck out of them so that they're not readable as being what they are. Before I show you this last tool for your tool belt, I'm just going to use my hand tool, which is down here, and I'm going to move over. I don't really talk about these tools much because I kind of expect you to assume that the zoom tool zooms, and this is kind of like what we use in SketchUp when we want to pan. So that's what that's for. All right, so by the way, if I want to zoom out to see my whole page, I would Command O, and that'll put me on my current artboard. If I want to Command Alt 0, it'll show me all three of my artboards. Okay, but again, I'm going to use my hand to get over here for a minute. All right, so it's my paintbrush right here. I'm just going to make a couple lines out here. Now, the reason that I selected this is so that I could get its color in here. But I'm going to show you how to do that another way too. So if I wanted to make it look like this was dripping paint, what I would do is hold my shift button before I click and then carefully move a line. And I was way less careful than you think I was, but sometimes it goes diagonal. So this will make a perfectly straight line of one of the 8 directions, whichever one you're closest to. And paint usually drips down, so I'm going to make just a couple more of those lines using my paintbrush. And I also am going to make some dots, because dots look like the droplets of paint. Now I can use my selection tool to grab these, and I could change them if I want, because I made that one too long accidentally. But if I place them over some of my other controllers, it'll look like paint, and I'm just using my selection tool to move these into place. It'll look like paint is dripping off them in that cool graphic style that is the style of vector art. I'm going to delete that one because I don't need it. Okay, if I wanted to use this paint on, say, one of my other controllers instead, I could just move it over there and use my eyedropper tool while the line or the paint is still selected, and I could suck the color from here and put it on my paint line right there. So that's using the eyedropper tool to suck up color from another source. I just want to make it clear also that the reason that this worked is because these two colors are the same. Otherwise, because it's a line itself, it's going to take the color of your outline. So just so you know, if you're trying to get the outline, like I'm going to go over here just to show you this, then it'll work great. by me going to the selection, the eyedropper tool, and just clicking the object. So it gets the color and thickness of the outline. But if I wanted to get that green, you would have to change the outline to green first, and then if you wanted to, you could of course change it back. Alright, so I'm going to do some fast forwarding so you can see what I came up with once I finish these ideas and put them all into one t-shirt design. So I've at least tried each of the techniques I showed you in at least one place in my new t-shirt, and you can see that it has many of the qualities of vector art and looks like a really pretty cool, if I don't say so myself, stylized t-shirt about video games. And that's pretty much the end of the project. The last thing to do is put your name on every piece, and we're going to do it in true Illustrator style. First thing we're going to do is write our name on there. Second thing we're going to do is take that name, because we absolutely don't want it to be in boring Myriad Pro. You know how I feel about Myriad Pro. So we're going to go to Type and look for some cool fonts in our font list. Oh, that's pretty cool. And I'm also going to make it bigger than that because I want it to be seen even though the artwork isn't about me. I don't want it to go crazy. That's perfect. Great. And then we're just going to use the selection tool and the Alt button at the same time. And once you have your name on all three, this project is done. Remember to write your names on it the way you want them to appear on the internet, on Facebook, and also how you'd like them in the art show. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this project. Please leave appropriate feedback and subscribe if you wish.